Okay, so today's small catechism, Book of Concord, subset of the Book of Concord is a small catechism. Today, the section we're going through is the second commandment, and the second commandment is you are not to misuse the name of your God. And this is a commandment I have heard people make bigger than it should be. And we'll get to what I mean by that in a second. But it's you are to not misuse the name of your God. What is this? What does this mean? We are to fear and love God. So this is circling back. The second commandment is a continuation almost of the first one. We are to fear and love God so that we do not curse, swear, practice magic, lie, or deceive using God's name, but instead use that very name in every time of need to call upon, pray to, praise, and give thanks to God. So I want to make some definitions here. When it says curse, it means like you are invoking the name of God to encourage, like to curse someone in like the sense of old medieval movies curse. Like you want someone's kid to turn into a frog kind of curse. More specifically, you want someone to literally go to hell kind of curse. Swearing, this isn't talking about swear words. Specifically, it's talking about using God's name to invoke a false oath. So along the lines of, I swear to God, XYZ. That is a violation of this commandment. Practicing magic, and that is you're trying to manipulate God by trying to invoke his name in some sort of ritual or something. Lie or deceive using God's name. More of this is like you're trying to use God's name to deceive your neighbor. So this is very specifically talking about the respect we show for God's name, and we don't misuse it to try and hurt other people, to try and bring other people down, to try and lie or deceive other people. But the only, and this is kind of specific, the only appropriate use for God's name is to call on him for support, to pray to him, to praise him, and to give thanks to him. So if you're not doing that, if you are using the name of God and you are not praying to him, you are not praising him, you are not giving thanks to him, you're probably misusing it. And I referenced this at the beginning because I think it's important that we're honest and we're upfront on where different rules come from. Sometimes people will use this to talk about you shouldn't say bad words. When we say swear words, what typically gets thought of, the words that you used to not be able to say on TV, although I think they're pretty flexible on most of them now. This commandment doesn't touch on that. If you're looking for a commandment to support a policy of no swearing, your best bet is actually probably the fourth commandment: honor your father and mother. If they told you not to swear, you should honor that. But the reality of a lot of those swear words, right, is they're culturally defined. So the words that we think of as swear words most frequently now, you go back a few hundred years and they weren't swear words. They just meant something specific. And the reality is, as they work into the vernacular, as more and more people use them, they lose their negative connotation, right? They lose their sweariness and something else becomes taboo to say. And this commandment is not speaking to those cultural defined rules that we adhere to. This is very specifically referring to the name of God and our use of the name of God. I think anything more than that, it might not be wrong. It might not be wrong to say, don't swear, or don't live your life in a way that brings disrespect to God's name because you are identified with him, you are identified as his. Neither of these things are necessarily inappropriate to talk about, but that's not what this commandment is talking about. So to be clear, second commandment, what does it talk about? use God's name in appropriate ways only. What does it not talk about? Swear words, bad words, and living in a respectful way. Not that these two things are not appropriate conversations to have, but they're not. That's not what the second commandment is about. And I want to make sure we're being honest and we're being real with how we talk about the commandments. So if you have comments, if you have questions, please put them in the section below. And if not, or regardless, brothers and sisters, go in peace, serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.